Okay, let's talk about Saul on the road to Damascus. You know the story, right? It's probably one of the most famous conversion stories ever. You've got the flash of light, the voice from heaven. This notorious persecutor of Christians suddenly becomes the Apostle Paul. It's super dramatic, super powerful, and honestly, we all think we know it inside and out.
But what if the big, flashy Hollywood moment isn't the main point? Seriously, what if the real story, the deeper meaning, is hiding in plain sight, tucked away in the details we usually just skim right over, like the names of the cities mentioned, or even how we translate a single, super important word? That's what we're going to dig into.
So, real quick, let's just set the scene. The basics are pretty straightforward, right? Saul is this hardcore persecutor, breathing threats against the followers of Jesus. He's on his way to Damascus to round them up. And then, bam, he has this unbelievable encounter with Jesus himself, and his entire life, his whole mission, gets flipped on its head. But, that's really just scratching the surface. All right, so our investigation starts with the first big clue, the location, Damascus. Now, you might think it's just a random city, just a backdrop for the drama, but no, it's so much more than that. Think about this. The author of Acts mentions Damascus 3 times in just the first few verses. Now, in ancient literature, that's not just sloppy writing. That is a giant neon sign, a flashing arrow pointing at something. The author is practically screaming at us, hey, pay attention, this place matters. So, why? What's the big deal with Damascus? Well, for anyone reading this back then, Damascus came with a ton of historical baggage. This city is deeply woven into the fabric of Israel's story. I mean, we're talking way back. It's where Abraham chased after the guys who captured his nephew Lot. Later on, King David actually conquered it and brought it into the kingdom, making it God's property. But then, during Solomon's reign, it was lost. It became this contested territory, always on the edge. And this ties directly into a core promise from God. You might remember God told both Abraham and Joshua, hey, wherever you walk, wherever the sole of your foot touches, I'm giving that land to you. So the fact that Abraham's feet were right there in Damascus, that's not just a fun fact. That's staking a divine claim. It means Damascus is part of the promise. So here's our first big takeaway. The story has to start in Damascus, because this isn't just about converting one man. It's about divine reclamation. God is symbolically taking back disputed territory, a piece of the promised land that had slipped away. He's starting his new mission by having the conversion of his most important future missionary happen on contested holy ground. Okay, so that's clue number 1, location, location, location. Now for our second clue, and this one is wild. It all hinges on a single word that, I promise you, once you see what it really means, it just unlocks this whole other dimension to the story. So remember the scene. God tells this guy, Ananias, to go find Saul. And Ananias is, completely freaked out, and for good reason. He basically says, Lord, are you sure? I've heard all about this guy. I know how much evil he's done to your saints in Jerusalem. Now we hear that word, saints, and we just kind of move on. But we really shouldn't. Because what if saints is actually kind of a bad translation? What if it's hiding the author's real point? What if the original word he used connects these believers to a massive cosmic story that goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden? Okay, so the Greek word used here is hagio, and that's a translation of the Hebrew word kedushim. And both of them literally mean holy ones. See, it's not just a description, like, oh, they're really good people. It's a title. And to really get what that title means, you have to see where else it shows up in the Bible. So check this out. In the Old Testament, this title, Holy Ones, is used for 2 very specific groups. First, it refers to the members of God's heavenly council. We're talking angelic, divine beings who are part of his rule. But then, it's also the title used for God's people on earth. The Israelites are told, you need to be holy ones, because I am holy. It's this incredible, deliberate connection, one family with members in heaven and on earth. So when the author calls the believers in Damascus holy ones, he's doing way more than just saying they're devout. He's dropping a theological bombshell. He's saying these people, these followers of Jesus, are the restored human part of God's cosmic family. It's the plan from Eden getting put back together, where heaven and earth are one. Okay, let's recap. God is reclaiming lost land, and he's identifying his restored family. Got it. But hold on, because the tour of significant, spooky places isn't over yet.
the story actually shifts from Saul to the Apostle Peter, and he takes us somewhere else, a place with a really dark reputation.
Peter heads out to visit the saints, or, as we now know, the holy ones, living in a town called Lydda. And while he's there, he performs this amazing healing. But again, you have to ask the question, why Lydda? This miracle could have happened anywhere. So the fact that the author names this town, well, that's our next clue. And just like we did with Damascus, we have to peel back the layers and look at the history. Because Lydda has its own kind of baggage. And honestly, its backstory is even darker. So it turns out, Lydda was located in the territory that was originally given to the tribe of Dan. And the story of Dan is not a happy one. This was the tribe that failed to conquer their land, that failed to drive out the giant clans living there. So what did they do? They just up and left. They abandoned their God-given inheritance, moved way up north, and set up a massive center for idol worship. Their reputation got so bad that in later Jewish traditions, the Antichrist was expected to come from Dan. And get this, they're the one tribe that's famously left off the list of the 144,000 in the book of Revelation. That's some serious baggage. And it's right here, in this land, stained by failure, idolatry, and just cosmic darkness, that Peter shows up. He finds a paralyzed man and says, "Aeneas, Jesus Christ heals you." And what happens? The whole town turns to the Lord. The message could not be clearer. There is no place, no person, no history so dark or so messed up that the power of the gospel can't reclaim it. Okay, let's pull all these threads together now. We've got Damascus, we've got the holy ones, we've got Lydda. What is the big picture here? What's the master plan that's being laid out in Acts chapter 9? What we're seeing is that these places, Damascus and Lydda, they aren't just random pins on a map. They are specific, strategic points on a cosmic battlefield. The author is showing us step by step how God's divine strategy is unfolding. And the strategy really has three main parts. First, secure the homeland. God is taking back the final contested, spiritually spooky pieces of the Promised Land. That's Damascus and the territory of Dan. Second, confirm the team. He identifies his people as the holy ones, his restored family on earth. And third, launch the mission. Only once the homeland is secure and the team is identified is the stage finally set to take the gospel out to the entire Gentile world, which is exactly what happens in Acts chapter 10. The scholar Michael Heiser summed it up perfectly. He said, "It doesn't matter what cosmic geographical associations have accrued to a place. It's all the Lord's, it will be reclaimed." In other words, the gates of hell will not stand a chance. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it teaches us that there's a whole other way to read these stories we think we know so well. It's a way of reading that pays close attention to the little details, the geography, the specific words that the original authors thought were absolutely essential. You see, the story of Saul's conversion isn't just about one guy's journey. It's a map. It's a map of God's incredible strategy to reclaim everything. And that leaves us with a really cool question to think about. How many other stories in the Bible have hidden maps like this, just waiting for us to slow down and notice them?